Welcome back to Cloud's Retirement Chat. I'm John Gay. I'm joined by Tommy Cloud from Third Act Retirement. Tommy, always good to be with you.
Likewise, John. It's always good to be on the show.
So I think for a lot of our audience, there's this idea that you go and you meet with a financial advisor and you set up your plan and you've kind of checked the box and you're done with it. And then you kind of just sit for a while. And I know that's not the case, but the question I want to get into with you today is how often should a client meet with their financial advisor?
Well, that's certainly, I think, an important question for people that are having relationships or considering starting a relationship with a financial planner. It's going to be different for a lot of people to start out with, and that's not just a standard answer. But what we will go over is how often, we meet and some of the things that I've seen over the last 20 years or so. We have, with our clients, depending on what they're doing, typically we'll review their portfolio once a year. We will review their financial plan once a year, for sure. Those are meetings that we reach out to here in my office to schedule those type of appointments with every client, just to make sure they're on track. Things change every single year on those financial plans. And then, of course, the portfolio's changing. Their desires and ability to keep up with risk are going to change, and that's something that we always want to update and review. And it's important to review that. And then, of course, the tax planning, which is another important meeting that we'll have with some of our clients. And there's where we go in and we kind of go over their previous year's tax return and we look at ways that we can reduce their taxes, not only in the current year, but in the upcoming years, some moves that we'll want to make. So it does depend. Some people that we work with, we have insurance reviews. We do estate planning so we can get some information for them and make it easy when they go talk to an estate planning attorney if they want to get wills and trusts drawn up. And then, of course, I have clients that contact me for various reasons. I was just talking to a client this week that's wanting to sell her house and get in and then buy a new house, and they're going to have a mortgage. And so we have conversations regarding that type of thing. And then they might have an investment idea where they want to talk about one of their rental properties. So it's all across the board, John. But I would say for our office, we are reaching out to schedule at least 2 meetings a year and sometimes 3 that we want to schedule. And sometimes 4, depending on the complexity of what we're doing with their investments. But it's somewhere between 2 and 4 times per year that we are reaching out to initiate these meetings from my office.
So, Tommy, you're saying twice a year as sort of a maintenance thing, but I got to imagine that when you are meeting with a client to start with, it's a lot more frequent than that to sort of get the ball rolling to get started, right?
Well, yes, we will meet with them and begin to develop a relationship with them before we decide we're going to start working together, kind of looking at what they're doing, some ideas that I think will help them as we're kind of starting to get to know each other. And then, those meetings could be 2 to 5. It just depends on the family situation and what we're dealing with and how complex it is, or, how quickly they want to get started. And if we think we can help, if we think we'd be a good match, not everyone's a good match for us, and we're not a good match for everyone. So it's one of those situations where that's a good point, John. In the beginning phases, we're going to be meeting quite a bit and then move in. And kind of going back to what we were talking about, what I was talking about, is the portfolio review. That is a meeting that is really going to have a lot of ideas. As you know, I'm in this industry and look at this for 20 something years. Every year, my ongoing CE is 30 hours a year, which is almost 1 week of work.
I think that's an important point, because not only have you been doing this for a couple decades, Tommy, but things change and dynamics change and rules change, and having to do that continuing education, those CEs, really does keep you on top of all the latest trends as far as what's going on.
It does. And I can't imagine people just want to get on the internet and do this. And I was with a client the other day and they just don't have the time for it. They're not, for the fee that they're paying me and what we're able to do, I really think it's beneficial for them. And I'm able to go out there and, as a fee-only planner, help them find the lowest cost products that'll help them achieve their goals. So they were concerned about the stock market, for example. In our portfolio review I had, I think it was this week or last week, and they didn't want to have the exposure to stocks as much, but they, bonds are, what are they going to do? Bonds aren't paying a lot. And they were kind of like, I'm concerned. And so I was able to talk with them about some of the things that I do. And we have a financial product that with one of the people that I work with, one of the companies I work with, that there's no commission for it. Once again, I'm fee only. So it's, I'm going to get paid my fee no matter what, no matter where it is. So it doesn't benefit me financially in any way.
Right. Yeah,
Other than, I guess, if I do a great job for my clients, they refer their friends and family. That certainly would benefit me financially, but that particular transaction will not. So I was able to show them a product where they can, tie their money to the performance of the stock market. And then the stock market goes down 20%, they have that protection. So if it goes down 15, they won't lose any of their money. If it goes down more than 20, let's say it goes down 27%, they would only have a decrease in their account of 7% rather than 27%. And this particular product fit really well. And there's so many examples like that where people just don't know what's out there. Any product that I recommend to my clients is low cost. It doesn't have a commission. So that's another thing that they're just not aware. They're not out there. But those portfolio reviews are really important because most people don't know what's out there unless they have a financial advisor. They're just not staying on top of the new products and the things that they're able to do with their money. So it's beneficial for my clients, at least, to have a bit of a CFO to help them on those meetings. And that particular product that we have is really nice. It's really good. It's doesn't have any penalties to get out of, and it's really liquid as well. So it's not, it does have a term to it. This particular one, it can have a 1, 3, or a 6-year term. But again, because I'm not in the commission world, the client doesn't have to stay in there, for a long period of time. They can get out whenever they want. So that's a good point, John.
I want to come back to something you said a moment ago, Tommy, and that is that some particular clients don't have the time to break down and go through all these types of, ideas and investments and things like that. I think you're right. And where you come in is you can handle a lot of the legwork on that and a lot of the time that it goes involved into researching and finding the best fit for that particular client situation. But I think for a lot of clients, when they're getting into investing, when they're getting into working with a financial advisor, yes, it can be intimidating to take some time and commit the time to actually do this, but their piece of the pie, as far as the time goes in working with you, is going to pay dividends in the end, quite literally, because you're talking about your future. You're talking about your retirement. You're talking about having the money and the comfort to be able to do what you want to do. And having that freedom and having that financial independence as you get older and as you retire, it's worth the time to put it in the beginning because you really can't put a price tag on it in the end.
Well, I appreciate that. I think they've shown this, Vanguard did the study on the long-term benefits to people that have financial advisors, and Vanguard decided it was about 3% a year. So anytime we can stay in touch with our clients and help them to understand what they're doing, it gives them more confidence, it gives them more peace of mind. And that's something that's difficult to put a price on, is feeling good about what you have, feeling good about your financial future, and you can kind of have other issues that you can focus on in your life and say, well, hey, I know I'm working with a professional, they're working with us. We want to make sure that all of our clients are at peace with what they're doing. I literally just had a call before this show started, and one of my clients wanted to make sure that she was lowering the risk inside of her annuity. And she just, I don't sell annuities. I hate to even have to say that, but I don't. I do manage them, but I don't sell them. We have accounts at Schwab, and anything we do is no commission, once again. But sometimes people hear the word annuity because Clark Howard said many things that were true about annuities. Annuities are expensive. Annuities have huge commissions on them. Some of them do. However, there's some that have no commissions. There's some that are very low cost, and those are the ones that we work with that have been offered and created for the RIA community and the RIA professionals. So going back to that, she had an annuity, and she was like, well, is this going to be lowering the risk in there? And I said, yes, this absolutely is. There's no doubt about it. This will lower the risk. And she was like, that's what I wanted to hear. I want the less risk in this. This particular one's a variable annuity. And so we're absolutely going to do that. We're going to lower the risk that she has and put her in a situation where I can roll her over into another annuity that'll do what we talked about, give her that 20% downside protection that I don't even think she'll use In this particular situation, she chose the 6-year option, which she can get out of. It's just, that's what the contract is before it would roll over or end. And so I don't think there's been a situation that I can recall, even the Great Depression, where the stock market was down 20% over a 6-year time period.
I think it's important to think about a client's risk. And this is why every client is different, and every client has their own individual circumstances and situation. And one of the things you've got to factor in is how aggressive they want to be and how risk averse they want to be. And I know for some folks that's changed given the tumult of what happened in 2020 with the pandemic and everything. But really it comes down to having that plan. And that's why it's important to have these initial meetings that we've spoken about when you first come on as a client, but then also those twice yearly meetings to evaluate where you are in terms of your overall strategy and your risk aversion, given what events may have transpired over the last 3, 6, 9, 12 months.
Yes, that's what we're seeing with our clients. Really enjoy it. They love the meetings. They love understanding it. I had a meeting with a client last week, and at the end of the call, the husband and wife were saying, we've never had anything like this. Our previous advisor from 26 years, it was their friend. We never had this kind of communication. We never did that. So if you're listening to this show, you should be having meetings where you, with your financial advisor, where he or she is showing you how your investments are positioned, how your investments have performed, and how your investments would perform if we have another financial crisis, or how they would have performed during the last financial crisis. It's hard to say how they would perform,
right?
Particularly with bonds now being so high and interest rates being so low. Bonds really offer something very important. They offer capital preservation, but they're just not offering much in the way of returns. So this is one of those situations where what you were saying is a good point, because things change. We want to keep our clients focused on the end goal. We want them to make sure they have inflation protection at the end of the day. We want to make sure they have deflation protection. We want to make sure they're diversified. However, we don't want to let our emotions get to a point where we're just going to start timing the market, selling everything, going into cash, and doing these type of things, which I've never seen an investor do that successfully for a long period of time, not even once. I've never even talked to another professional that did it successfully for a long period of time without having to miss something or move at the wrong time and end up creating a bad performance situation.
That's true. We've seen people in 2020, the folks that wrote it out as opposed to panicking and trying to time the market. The ones that wrote it out did a little bit better. And that's that old cliche about if you're trying to time the markets, the reason it never works is that you are trying to get lightning to strike twice. You've got to get out at the right time. You've got to get back in at the right time, or vice versa. So that's certainly well taken. Last question I want to ask you today, Tommy, is you mentioned this in the beginning and we kind of scratched the surface on this. We're talking about, again, how often you should meet with your financial advisor. What are some factors that might happen in an investor's life that would cause you to want to meet with them again? What types of life changes and circumstances might they experience that say, okay, this is a good time to sit down and reevaluate?
I just had lunch before this podcast, literally today, with a client, and he wants to actually take the money out of one of those annuities that I previously referenced, which he can do, and he wants to buy a rental house. And I said, that's a great idea. He's in real estate. His family's been in real estate since the mid 70s. So that's fine. I said, that's a great idea. We can do that. No problem. Just like I told you. And he was like, yeah, he expected that because he's grown to trust me. I've known him for quite some time. And so that would be one example. If you want to move your money out and invest in something else like real estate, certainly that's something to contact your financial advisor about. If you definitely have an inheritance coming in, that was my phone call from last week. I had a client who their dad had passed away, and they had some inheritance, and they wanted to talk about how to invest that, so we could develop a plan for that and how that would fit into the money that they had, how much risk they wanted to take. So number one would be if you want to take money out to invest in something else. Number two would be if you've received an inheritance. That's a great reason to call your financial advisor. I see my clients call me for that, and it happens every year. With most of my clients being in their 60s, every year I get calls from clients getting inheritances. If a client wants to withdraw money for maybe a car purchase or some other large purchase item that might bump them into another tax bracket if they were to take it all out of their IRA, I would say call your financial advisor. You should be able to call your financial advisor, anytime. You may not be able to reach him or her. However, you should be able to set up an appointment and talk to him in less than a week or so, unless they're on vacation. Those three situations are probably the most common that we get at our office. Major purchases, of course, would be a fourth. If you're getting in a decision where you want to buy a house or you want to buy a second home, or you're making a decision that's just a large financial decision. You want to, a fifth one would be, do you want to know how you're going to save for your children or your grandchildren's college? Should you start a 529? Should you do even a whole life policy? There's all types of things that you can do, an educational IRA. I don't even know if the Paul Coverdale IRAs are around anymore. We tend to lean more towards the 529s. However, that would be another reason. And, maybe you want to purchase long-term care. Call your financial advisor. Anytime you come across a kind of a financial hurdle, and I've been doing this for a while and have seen so many different situations over the past 2 decades and of course I have my own finances, my own business that I run, and my mind kind of works that way. So my clients can call me on just about anything. Now, sometimes they'll call me and stump me, for example, if they want to have in-depth discussions about Bitcoin. That, I'll just say, because I don't want to be on the hook for that particular asset class or investment. So I know a little bit about it and I can talk with them about it. However, I'm not going to get into making any real serious recommendations to most of my clients unless they're qualified investors or something where, that would be more of a safe move for them. But that would be an example of something that I wouldn't. But most anything my clients could call me about, and I could probably steer them in the right direction or help them save money or make more money or whatever it is they're trying to do.
Got it. Tommy, if somebody wants to reach you at Third Act Retirement, you've got an entire onboarding process, I know. What are the best ways to find you?
They can just go to our website and click on the link that says Get Started, and then just schedule a Retirement Ready Success call. There'll also be a link in this video. So that's it. Call us at 1-800-917-5016 or locally 770-971-2888. Our website is thirdactretirement.com.